Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another episode of Off-Road Hub. Today, I'm going to be addressing some outstanding issues. Starting at the back of the vehicle, this rear bumper just isn't going to work anymore. The FJ Cruiser just doesn't look good without any headlights. So this rear bumper from Eric at Utah Yoda on Instagram, or his company name is Utoy, it's one of the best modifications I've ever made to my FJ. And I've really loved it, but it's not really going to work for me anymore. These big things that stick out, they don't really fit anything anymore. I'm not going to need a swing out. I'm not going to need a trailer hitch receiver. It's been super strong, and the best thing about it is that it's super low profile. The secret to this bumper's low profile is the fabrication behind it. There's normally a big frame piece that goes across the back of the FJ right here. Well, that's been cut out, and so you can put a bumper further up and forward. And to retain structural rigidity, this piece of DOM tubing was welded in across the frame as a replacement for the piece that came from the factory back here. So really, when you think about it, when you've got a piece of DOM tubing welded between the frame rails and then bolt a bumper onto the rear, it's actually probably stronger than it was from the factory. So I definitely do not want to get rid of all these improvements. Instead, I'm going to improve upon the improvements. So here is the new and improved solution, an even lower profile rear bumper that's already cut for having fenders that have been removed. This rear bumper was actually on Eric's Mega FJ until he made himself a tube bumper. Now, because I already have the frame modifications necessary to put this bumper on my FJ, it should essentially be a bolt-up operation. But the one thing that I'm going to have to change are these mounting plates on both sides. You can see that they have 4 holes. Well, the new bumper has 6 bolts coming through it, and they're a totally different pattern than these 4 bolts were. So I'm going to have to make some new mounting plates to go onto the back of the frame. All right, here's one of the old mounting plates. I took some measurements, and this is a template for one of the new mounting plates. As you can see, the shape is quite a bit different, and these yellow dots represent where the holes have to go. So, not really the same at all. And I'll be cutting them out of this 1/4-inch plate. Okay, I've got my frame plates ready for the bumper. Now I just need to figure out how I'm gonna hold the bumper up, lined up perfectly, and weld those plates into place. Well guys, I was really hoping and thinking that getting this bumper on would be a fairly simple task. But of course, as is the case with so many things on this build, this is not going to be as simple of a task as I thought. So I was lining up my plates here on the bumper, and I was gonna, get the plates welded onto the frame, but it turns out that these studs that are part of the bumper, they are set too narrow on the inside for my frame. You would think that my frame would be the same as Eric's, but it is not. So it's about 7 o'clock in the evening, and with that in mind, I'm gonna come up with a plan for that to tackle tomorrow. So yeah, I'll be up all night thinking about that. All right, it's the next day, and after much deliberation, I've decided that I'm gonna resolve this frame situation by trimming the frame, kind of cut a wedge out of it, and then replate it right there. So essentially just narrowing the frame so that these studs will fit. So I drew a line here. That's basically where I'm gonna cut. Just basically cut a wedge out of both sides and then weld a plate back in where that was, except pushed further in. Just like that. Well, there you have it. Cut out and cleaned up. So now I just need to come up with some plates to put in there. I'm going to use some 3/16 plate. Hey, look at that. I made 2 little Nevadas. And they fit into my cutouts really well. So now I just got to get these welded in, and the frame will be narrowed. So now I should be able to fit the bumper on, because the frame is narrower on the inside. There's the other side. Looks pretty good. Well, I managed to get the plates tacked up to the frame. As you can see, I actually had Elizabeth come out and help me hold the bumper so it didn't move. And so these are in place now, in line with how the bumper fits, level and straight with the vehicle. So now I can get those welded on, and then this little bumper portion of this project will be done, I think. And just like that, I've got these plates glued on there. 1/4-inch steel plate, both sides, looking good. So now I'll just set the bumper on here, make sure that still fits, and yeah, the bumper will be ready to go. There it is. It still fits. That's a good thing. And there it is, installed. The rear bumper, super high clearance. You can see that this one is actually higher than the frame itself. That's the frame right there. So the bumper is actually above the frame, which for my purposes is fantastic. Oh, you might be wondering about these huge jack stands I have in the back that maybe you've noticed I've moved. They aren't actually holding the vehicle up at the moment. I have jack stands further up on the frame, but I have these ones back here right now just as insurance, especially since those ones up there are pretty far forward. So these are just here for, yeah, extra insurance. All right, guys, that bumper, whew, that of course took a lot longer than I had expected. Like most things on this project have. Yeah, everything just takes a little bit more than I figured. Anyways, I think the next thing I'm going to install will actually go pretty smoothly. You may have noticed, or maybe not, that this entire time my headlights have been removed. And that's not because you need to remove your headlights to do a solid axle swap. You don't. I think I can leave it in my headlights in the grill and they won't get in the way of anything. The reason mine were removed is because my housings were getting full of dirt and mud. So let me tell you the story about that. I got these HID Retrofit headlights from Nomad Retrofits. They're a local company to me. It's a very small business, and I like supporting small local businesses. And anyways, I didn't have this seal on the back of the headlight, and so dirt and mud can go right in here, and they were getting pretty clouded up. But now I have, I just ordered from Amazon some things to go on the back of here. I would just use the factory Toyota one, but there's still a big hole on the back, and that's not going to work too well for me. So on Amazon, I ordered a seal that goes on the back of this. It's 76 millimeters, in case you were wondering. And I'll be able to make just tiny holes for these wires to go through. So there are a lot of wires on here, and that's because these are, like I said, HID retrofits. And so if you're not familiar with an HID retrofit, what it is basically, I don't know all the ins and outs of an HID retrofit, but I know the basics. So this is a factory housing, and in the factory housing there's typically a reflector. It's the silver shiny part you see in the background typically. Anyways, that's blacked out in these, and I think you can paint them any color you want. But I just went with black because, you know, just basic. And then the regular bulb is taken out, and this projector is put in here. And this projector, it looks like a kind of a giant magnifying lens in there. And then there's an HID bulb inside that projector. The cool thing that the projector does when you go between high and low beams, there's like a little shutter in there that will cut off the light and make a nice cutoff in your light that you're shining out there. So you do not blind oncoming drivers with HID retrofits. Unlike when you just stick LED bulbs inside of a stock housing, you get uncontrolled light, and that's what ends up blinding traffic. But with a true HID retrofit, you don't end up with that, and you can do all kinds of cool things. You can do RGB, red, green, blue colors that change, and you can put all kinds of weird halos and designs in here and make them look totally crazy and awesome. This one's pretty basic, just a projector. I do have a halo in here that comes on before the headlights, just in the park light mode. So, you know, it looks kind of cool. But Will over at Nomad Retrofits, he was nice enough to clean these out for me for free. And then I'll have them sealed up so they won't get all dirty again. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these headlights back in the front, and you know, that's gonna take this project to the next level, because it won't look totally torn apart in the front anymore. Anyways, that's HID retrofits for you. A very basic explanation. There we go, that's much better. Now it bears some resemblance to an FJ Cruiser again. I like having the headlights in there. If for nothing else, just my own moral support. Because it almost looks like an FJ Cruiser from certain angles. Alright guys, well thanks for coming along on this one. That rear bumper turned into a big old job. I'm glad I didn't wait till the last minute to try to install that rear bumper, because that would have been disappointing. So I'm glad I got it done and out of the way now. It's a great design, best off-road design bumper there is, I think. Anyways, if you liked this episode, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, so I can share new content with you every Monday and Thursday. We'll see you next time, guys.